It seems like Canelo Alvarez's wishes might just come true. As we all know, he wanted to fight Berlanga and Jaime Munguia, and exactly in that order. And it seemed like everything was gonna go to plan until Berlanga and his team stated that they were not ready for Canelo Alvarez yet. And Canelo was left without a dancing partner. But in a recent interview with Fight Hub, Edgar Berlanga and his team stated that they are willing to fight Canelo Alvarez next. And this is the topic that we are going to be talking about today. But before we get into that, if you guys are not subscribed, please punch and knock out that subscription button. That way you'll never see it again. And ding the notification bell. That way you never miss any of my new boxing videos. Alright guys, let's get to the round. Ding ding. Okay champs, let's get started. As we all know, Edgar Berlanga just recently had a fight a few weeks ago against an Irish undefeated fighter. I really forgot his name, but no disrespect guy. But Berlanga did not look spectacular in that fight. He looked okay. Because as we all know, when Berlanga started his career, he had 17 knockouts in a row, and we were used to that Berlanga. And not just that, all of those knockouts came out in the first round. But after that, he did not knock out any of his last opponents until he fought the Irishman. And that was the fight he had recently. But in that fight, he did not look very seasoned. And I believe it's because he had 17 first round knockouts. And I believe that's a blessing and a curse, basically a double-edged sword. It's a blessing because 17 first round knockouts makes you look like a monster, and most people will probably avoid you. No boxer will ever want to get knocked out in the first round. And I believe it's a curse because you won't get any experience. In 17 fights, that will be only 17 rounds. And not just that, it will not be 17 complete rounds, because if there's a knockout, that means it didn't go all 3 minutes. I know people will say, well, he had amateur experience, but it's nearly not the same. It's almost like two separate sports. So I don't believe it's a lot of experience that Berlanga got. I believe if Berlanga's fights would have done more rounds, he would have been a much better fighter because of the experience he would get. As we all know, when a pro boxer debuts, they don't do 10 rounders, they do like 4 or 6 rounders. Then they gradually work their way up. Now there are special fighters like Lomachenko. I believe his second fight was a title fight, making it a 12 rounder. Some people will call him not very good or not very great because he's 17-3. But all those 17-3 fighters are top level fighters. Let's compare Boots and his resume. Yeah, he's undefeated and he's like 30-0, but that's not even top level fighters. I'm sure if Lomachenko fought the same level fighters that Boots Ennis fought, he will still be undefeated as well. But I could be wrong. This is boxing and the theater of the unknown. You just never know. Look at Spence versus Crawford and Ngannou versus Tyson Fury. Nobody thought those fights were gonna play out the way they did. But it happened, because in this sport, everybody can get hurt. It doesn't matter how great you are, you can still get knocked out. But that's neither here or there. I personally do not believe Berlanga is ready for a caliber of fighter of Canelo. Even though we all know Canelo is on a decline and he did not look spectacular on his last couple of fights. I believe Berlanga has power, but I think Canelo can absorb anything that Berlanga throws at him. I believe Triple G hits harder than Berlanga, and Bebo is more precise than Berlanga. But in the recent interview with Fight Hub, Berlanga begs to differ. And he says he is ready, and this is what he had to say. He said that they are the front runners for the Canelo sweepstakes, and if it happens, the fight will be taking place in May. And according to Eddie Hearn, Berlanga and his team, they know that Canelo wants to fight next. And the only thing that can stop this fight is actually just the network. But Berlanga stated that Canelo is his own boss and he can fight whoever he wants and whoever he chooses. And he says he's 100% sure and knows these facts that Canelo wants to fight Berlanga next. And the fight will take place on Cinco de Mayo weekend. Berlanga also states that him fighting Canelo will be a much bigger fight than Canelo fighting Munguia on Cinco de Mayo weekend. He also stated that's because Canelo and Munguia are both Mexican and they only have the country of Mexico to hold him down. But he has the whole country of Puerto Rico holding him down, so it'll be a classic fight between Mexican versus Puerto Rico. He also stated he believes he is the hottest thing smoking right now because he just came off a great knockout victory over an undefeated fighter. Yes, and I believe that myself. On paper, Canelo versus Berlanga would be a bigger fight than Canelo versus Munguia because of the two different fan bases that will buy the pay-per-view. Because as we all know, the country of Mexico gets the pay-per-views for free. That is the reason that Canelo went to TV Azteca to Mexico to sign that deal, just so the Mexican people can keep getting the pay-per-views for free. And last time I checked, Puerto Rico is part of the USA and they have to buy the pay-per-views. So the only Mexican fan base who's gonna buy these pay-per-views are the American Mexican fan base. But as we all know, Berlanga did not look that good in his last fight. But he is still undefeated and his last opponent was also undefeated and he knocked him out. And just by knowing that will help sell the fight. And if they advertise it and market it right, it will do very well. It's Puerto Rico versus Mexico. I know those fights always do well. Berlanga also stated that he is young and Canelo wants to catch him right now. He also stated that he suffered a small cut in his eye and he is just waiting for it to heal so he can go back to training. But he said he is just like Wolverine and he heals fast, so he's just going to wait another week so he can start sparring. Berlanga, I know you cannot train right now, but you can still try to get in shape. If I was you, I would at least do the road work. That way your stamina will be up when you start sparring. Berlanga also stated that Canelo is not scared of David Benavidez because he fought everybody that he was supposed to fight: Triple G, Cotto, Mayweather, Kovalev, and Plant, and that he fought his way up to have the right to choose whoever he wants to fight. He also believes this fight with Canelo will do over 1 million pay-per-view buys. I don't know about all that with everybody stealing pay-per-views. If you guys start beef and have some bad blood, then yeah, maybe it will. Because look at Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. That fight on paper should have sold at least 1 million pay-per-views. But I guarantee you, if there was bad blood and beef, that fight would have sold a lot more. It did not persuade a lot of the casual fans to buy the fight. All the hardcore boxing fans did buy that fight just because how much it meant for boxing. Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford were wrong. They stated this fight sells itself. You do not have to talk smack or act all crazy to sell a lot of pay-per-views, but those numbers prove that you do. Because look at Tank versus Ryan pay-per-view numbers, and Ryan Garcia was never a champion. And Tank Davis is a lot less accomplished than Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. But Tank versus Ryan had a lot of trash talk and a lot of beef. So yes, as soon as the fight is signed, I will start talking a lot of trash if I was you. I will push Canelo at the weigh-in. But that's neither here or there. There is one thing Berlanga said in the interview that I did not like. He stated that he was not happy or satisfied with his last performance when he knocked out that Irishman. He stated that he still had a lot of stuff to work on. Now, if Berlanga stated this, he's already making excuses so when he loses to Canelo. And I think he will lose to Canelo. I think he will lose to a lesser fighter than Canelo. I actually think he loses to Munguia. But just like Ryan Garcia was undefeated, so is Berlanga. And that will help sell the fight. You guys think Berlanga needs more time to face Canelo? Comment below and I'll write to everyone back. If you guys like the show, subscribe, like the video, share the video, and that's it for me, champs. I gotta roll.
I took up the world! I took up the world! I took up the world!